What is a common denominator? In an earlier lesson, we learned that you cannot add or subtract fractions unless they have a common denominator. For example, you cannot add the fraction 2/5 to the fraction 1/6 because they have unlike denominators. 2/5 is 2 parts out of 5, and 1/6 is 1 part of 6. To add or subtract these fractions, both must use the same total amount of parts. Knowing how to find a common denominator will help you on your GED math exam. How do you find and apply a common denominator? To find a common denominator, you should remember how to find the least common multiple, LCM, from a previous lesson. This number will be the common denominator of the fractions you want to add or subtract. Let's find the common denominator for this example. 2/5 plus 1/6 equals. Find the least common multiple, LCM, of these unlike denominators, 5 and 6. 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30. 6, 12, 18, 24, 30. Stop when you get a matching common multiple. The LCM of 5 and 6 is 30. This will be your common denominator. You need to rewrite both the denominator and the numerator to keep the fraction balanced on top and bottom. It's still the same amount. To add the fractions, you just add the numerators, then write that value over the common denominator. You can add any number of fractions together as long as you use a common denominator for all the fractions. You can review how to reduce an improper fraction and change it to a mixed number in the adding and subtracting fractions lesson. The circles in this diagram show how changing the denominators to a common denominator changes the total possible number of pieces. The fractions 1/4 and 1/3 are rewritten to have a common denominator of 12. 1/4 becomes 3/12 and 1/3 becomes 4/12. However, the amount of green in each circle stays the same. 3/12 and 4/12 are combined into 7/12. The denominator stays the same when you add fractions because the 7 pieces are still out of a total of 12 pieces. Test tip: reducing fractions. During your test, you might need to reduce fractions to their simplest form after adding or subtracting them. Look at the divided circles that we used to explain common denominators. They showed that you can create more pieces by multiplying the top and bottom, but the fraction size stays the same. To simplify a fraction, just reverse this process. When you reduce the number of pieces, the fraction is still the same amount of the whole. To reduce fractions, divide the top and bottom by the same number until you can't divide any further. This creates equivalent fractions which have equal values. For more complicated numbers, apply the same rule of dividing top and bottom by using the greatest common factor rule. 1/2 2/4 equals 5/10 equals 25/50 equals 1/2. 2/3 6/9 equals 2/3. Whole numbers. 8/4 equals 2/1 equals 2. Mixed numbers. 9/4 equals 2 and 1/4. Practicing how to add and subtract fractions by using the common denominator will help you succeed on your GED math exam. Happy studying!